Cardinals fans, and welcome into the Monday morning scramble where we are hashing out the Cardinals' 31-9 loss to the Saints yesterday's game. Lisa Matthews here with you, Kyle Odegard, Jody Jackson, Zach Galia. Now guys, let's get right into the main dish. Now, for most of the game, the Cardinals looked like they were in the game at least, not playing their best, but against a Drew Brees offense and a top 10 rush defense, it looked like they could hang in there a little bit.
They were hanging around, and you need a few breaks to go your way when you're playing a team that good on the road. And right before the half, when the Saints didn't get the touchdown because of the holding penalty, they didn't even get a field goal. That allowed the Cardinals to stay in it. Patrick Peterson had the nice interception, but at the end, I think Drew Brees was just a little bit too much for the Cardinals.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they piled up 510 yards, and Brees, you're kind of thinking maybe there's some rust. No, Drew Brees is not a guy that's going to succumb to rust. When you look at his career and what he's done. And unfortunately the Cardinals, I think, guys, the thing that was disappointing is really offensively, even though, like you guys said, they were in this game 10-6 at the half, and unfortunately couldn't really mount much on offense. And then, losing Chase Edmonds obviously really hurt. But when you can't get that running game going, you saw Kyler Murray, Zach kind of talk about, it was hard to get anything going when you don't have that threat of the run. And I think they lost the battle in the trenches, which is always going to hurt you in the end.
Yeah, and I mean, you could tell just the energy in the building from the moment Drew Brees ran out of the tunnel. It was incredible. Like, just the noise, and I'm sure that had a little bit to do with some of the miscommunication maybe, and maybe some problems there. But it was just, with Drew Brees back at the helm, the crowd was pretty fired up.
Those are some disciplined fans. They know when to crank it up, and they're just so, going from a level 100 almost, I could barely hear myself think, and then they're just so silent when they're orchestrating their offense. It's really incredible to see. So they were 10-6 at the half. Patrick Peterson in the third quarter gets that beautiful interception, and Cliff Kingsbury really wanted to capitalize at that moment. He said momentum, he wanted to see it swing more in the Cardinals' way and get things going. So then we have that controversial 4th and 1 call on the Cardinals' 30-yard line. Hot take for Kyle here. You love the call.
I loved it. I think you have to be aggressive in the NFL, especially when you're an underdog. And I know the score was 10-6 and the Cardinals were in it, but as we talked about, the Saints were moving the ball all game. Drew Brees was on fire. It seemed like the Cardinals had to do something unconventional to try to steal that win. I don't think you can just trade possessions with the Saints. So I like that he went for it, because if you get that, you take off more time from the clock, you get closer to the fourth quarter, and if the Cardinals go and get a field goal or a touchdown on that drive, then you're talking about a seriously competitive game in the fourth quarter. So I'm all about it, and I think you look at the numbers, and the number cruncher said it was the right decision, even though it's super unconventional deep in your own territory, and it was the worst case scenario. You didn't get it, and they turned around and got a touchdown. But I think when you're an underdog, it's good to be aggressive, and Cliff Kingsbury did not shy away from that. As a first-year coach, he went for it, and I was happy to see it.
Yeah, you love it when it works, and when it doesn't, there's too much to say on the other side. But going into this game, reminder, the Cardinals, Jody, were 5 for 5 on fourth down. The only team 100% completion rate.
That's why I liked it, because it's who they are. To me, it's who they are. It's what they're going to do. I understand out there a lot of people pointing to, well, you weren't, moving the ball in those physical situations, and that was true. It's a hard place to play. That is true also, but to me, you have to stick to your identity. Had they punted the ball away, hindsight's 20/20. You never know what would have happened, but do we really think that this game was going to turn for the Cardinals if they had punted it away and even gotten a stop there?
Yeah.
I don't know. I look at it and I say, really, it wasn't trending that way when you look at the way that the Saints were able to move the ball, and the Cardinals were struggling with that. So for me, that wouldn't have changed. But the call, going back to Kyle's point, that might have changed it. That might have kind of altered you forward if you're able to do something that you weren't able to do in that underdog role.
Yeah, it's all about calculated risks. It's sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But just like Kyle said, I love the call. I love just that, taking that shot to kind of turn the tide, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
And the Saints punted twice in the entire game, so maybe you get a stop after the punt, and maybe you don't. Maybe Drew Brees throws 2 balls and they get 40 yards, and you're right back at the 30-yard line where you started. So that's why,
you never know.
Against a great quarterback, I really like being aggressive.
It was a turning point, yes, in the game, but it didn't make or break the game in a sense. There's still struggles there that we saw offensively. They couldn't get the run game going. I believe it was only 40 yards total rushing.
So 19 on a Christian Kirk end around.
Yeah, end around with Christian Kirk. We'll get in more into that. But 0 for 2 in the red zone, 2 for 12 on third down. So they had their struggles already. It wasn't the make or break.
I mean, that third down play to me was a very makeable play, and then everything changed. You're not even in that situation. But for me, you know, coaches make these kind of decisions all the time, and it's fine for people to second guess it. That's what the game is all about. But yeah, this obviously the Cardinals. I look at the third down. I think 2 for 12 yesterday. So again, you don't want to be in those spots. That was a makeable play. Kyler, I think, was 19 of 33. Again, I'm not sure if he makes a couple of those completions that anything changes as far as the final result, but there were a few that, because of that pressure and the very disruptive Saints defense, you know, things that he had been completing rather easily became difficult.
Yeah. For me, what bites in this game is just seeing how prolific the run game and successful the run rate has been, and just completely silenced in this game. We knew that there was a chance for that, obviously, going up against a top 10 run defense, but just to see nothing going. I mean, they were getting beat at the point of attack every single play, and just, you know, you're on that 4th and 1, you decide to go through the trenches and run it, and you get stuffed and you don't get it. So,
and I think, like Jody said, that in this game you needed kind of a lot of these small things to go your way. The 4th and 1, the Larry Fitzgerald touchdown that wasn't in the end zone where he couldn't get that second foot in, the great scramble by Kyler Murray, and then he had Christian Kirk downfield, but he underthrew him. That would have been 35, 40-yard gain. So you had to be perfect on the road against the Saints to upset them, and the Cardinals didn't quite get there.
Well, for most of the battle, there were some bright spots. At least 3/4 worth bright spots. So let's get into our rise and shine players of the game. Kyle, you're up first. Who you got?
My rise and shine is Charles Clay. He's been on the field more in recent games, but he hasn't had big receiving totals. But obviously on that flea flicker, he got downfield and did a nice job of hauling that ball in. And later on in the game, he also had a big catch. So he's a guy where him and Max Williams have allowed Cliff Kingsbury to use 1 or 2 tight ends whenever he wants, because they're really playing well and
left wide open.
Yeah. And
That's
you don't
the beauty of it. That's the
yeah.
beauty of it. They're left wide open. They make these. I mean, I love it. Every time they catch the ball, it's like, run, you got this.
Yeah.
It was tough to see him go down, I believe, at the 10.
Yeah.
So. But
smart play call too.
Yeah, awesome play call. I love to see that, especially in the first opening drive. Just talk about scripting plays and adding that trickery off the bat. You're like, okay, we can keep up with this Saints offense, maybe. So it was awesome to see, kind of just get them, you know, riled up early on, and to see them continue through. All right, Zach, let's go to you. Let's go to the far end.
I mean, I feel like it should be obvious by this point, but I'm going with my guy, Zane Gonzalez. Scored all the points for the Cardinals yesterday, 31-yarder, 31-yarder, 50-yarder. I got a whole bunch of other stats about how good of a kicker Zane Gonzalez is, but he's tied for first in the league with field goals made. He's got a great percentage. I think he's at 88% this year. So, again, we didn't really have a ton of offense, and it kept sputtering out as we got close, but you know, it definitely helps having someone back there who can kind of clean it up.
Yeah, no question.
Your guy, Zane.
It's my guy.
All right, Jody, you want to do this
Solid
together?
game. Should we do it together?
Yeah.
3,
Okay.
2, 1.
Reveal.
Wait, is it? Okay. I want to make sure it wasn't back.
Are we still? Yeah.
Are we good?
We're good.
Well, obviously, Christian Kirk made a huge impact first game back after missing 3 weeks in a row, 8 catches, 79 yards. Just great to see him. He said he's not 100%, Jody, but just to see his explosiveness, the playmaker that he is, it's great to see him back in the mix.
The way that he plays the game, the kind of spark that he gives the team, you saw that out there. It's great to see him back. He was the most productive receiver. Clay, obviously, at the tight end spot. But they needed that, and hopefully he's just able to continue that here in a short week. Obviously, it's going to be tough with Halloween week and the Thursday night game. It's going to be a lot of fun, but you know, not for the faint of heart. Turning around quickly, get some of these guys maybe a little healthy, and Kirk getting back out there though is a big part of that.
Absolutely. All right, guys, let's bring home the bacon. it's a short week ahead. Guys need to get healthy. Obviously, we talked a little bit about the running back position with Chase Edmonds now dealing with a hamstring issue. David Johnson obviously with his ankle. So there's some reports out there right now that the Cardinals did make a trade for Kenyon Drake. So we'll see how that plays out. Nothing official on the team's end right now, but you know, they need the help and the running back position, just the depth wise. So we'll see how that kind of plays out, Kyle.
And you could tell Zach Zenner, you know, came in with about a quarter and a half left, and he was doing everything he could do to try to figure out what was going on.
You could tell he wasn't, you know, you're thrown into a new offense.
Yeah.
Pass protection.
And, you know, early on he was trying to figure it out, and it's hard. That's a tough spot to be in.
And in the noise, and he signed on Tuesday, so, and it, like you said, Lisa, if David Johnson and Chase Edmonds and DJ Foster are all out, then you are relying on whether it's Kenyon Drake or one of the guys that are here. None of those guys have been here more than a week, so it's tough, and you got to try to coach them up quickly, but it's definitely a challenge. No matter how talented they are, they don't know the offense yet, and they're trying to get up to speed.
Yeah, and this week obviously being super short, trying to get them up to speed. Everything's moved up. Today's a Wednesday-like day for the team, Zach, and just obviously it's more so at this point about getting this bad taste out of their mouth, just moving forward. And forgetting quickly what happened in New Orleans.
I mean, this is almost, it's a blessing and a curse being on a short week, but if there's a game you kind of want to forget and move forward from, I would say this is probably one of them. So hopefully everyone has enough time to kind of get their bumps and bruises taken care of and go from there.
Yeah.
I like the fact that this week, you know, you have to look at the positive, which is it's going to be a challenge for Cliff Kingsbury, I think, to create the game plan for this, because we know the Niners are a very good team. You have some new guys being incorporated, but I think it's all hands on deck. And we've seen this team use a lot of their weapons, maybe when you least expect it. Sometimes it's the tight ends. You know, I think we're going to see some different tweaks, some twists and turns in the game plan. On Halloween night, it might be a little trickery. I'm not sure. But and whether Drake is here and incorporated, you know, again, now they've got kind of a couple guys who are trying to get ready to go out there and fill that need, because you're really not sure. I think today, as we sit here, we're really not sure the status of Edmonds and David Johnson. David Johnson's very missed in the pass game. Everyone can see that. Not only the run game, but in the passing game. But I think that they can compensate for that.
And that's what Kenyon Drake excels at, just getting him up in space, and he can get out there as a pass catcher as well. So an undefeated 49ers team coming in here. Happy Halloween, guys, almost.
By the way,
are you guys dressing up with me?
I'm not dressing. I don't know if I'm going to dress up. But by the way,
Kyle?
3-4-1 at the midpoint. Just not, you know, not a bad record for a Cardinals team that a lot of people were doubting if they could, you know, at the midpoint, if you say 4 losses, I think a lot of people would be surprised if you had said that before the season.
After 8.
But as far as dressing up, I don't know. What do you guys have planned?
No one wants to dress up with me. We'll figure out a plan. The Breakfast Club. Yeah?
There you go.
I like it. I like it.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. We're here every Monday morning, 10 a.m. on YouTube. We'll see you next week.